and Goblin Reddit. Today's story is...
My brother smiled when my parents threw me out for getting my girlfriend pregnant, but 3 years later our wedding took an unexpected turn. I'm 19 and I've been with my girlfriend, also 19, for almost 2 years. We were careful, but as often happens, she got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but I love her deeply and I would never think of avoiding my responsibility. I grew up in an extremely strict household where my parents always made it clear that there was only one right way to do things, their way. My 23-year-old older brother was considered the perfect child. I never saw my parents express disappointment in him, no matter what mistakes he made. In contrast, I seemed to be the family's constant disappointment, even when I tried my best. Nothing I achieved seemed enough to gain their approval. When I found out that my girlfriend was pregnant, I knew that telling my parents would be complicated, but I wasn't prepared for the magnitude of their reaction. They didn't just get angry, they completely lost control. My father started ranting about how I was ruining my future for a woman without values. My mother acted as if I had personally betrayed her, while my brother watched the scene with that superior smile he always showed when I faced problems. When I was given the choice between leaving her or abandoning the family, I knew exactly what to do. I wouldn't abandon my girlfriend because I loved her deeply, especially when she was already terrified and facing enough difficulties. I told them that I chose her, and that was the end of my family relationship. My father cut me off financially, disinherited me and made it clear that he no longer considered me his son. My mother cried inconsolably, assuring me that I would regret this decision for the rest of my life. My brother simply laughed, apparently pleased that he would now have all the parental attention. It's not that he didn't have it before, but he seemed to wish that I wouldn't even receive reprimands. He always treated me with superiority, and now he had achieved exactly what he wanted. I was officially out of the family. I packed what I could carry and left. Fortunately, I was not completely ruined financially. I already had a job before this incident, so I had some savings, although not enough for many expenses. At that moment my best friend's older brother appeared. Let's call him Yate because it's a common name that I will easily remember. Yate owns a small apartment building and, upon learning of my situation, he offered me immediate help. He let me rent a small one-bedroom unit at an extremely reduced price, and never pressured me when I had difficulties paying. He only asked me to focus on my girlfriend and the baby, a gesture I will never forget. I am a loyal person, so when someone treats me as Yate did, you can be sure that I will be eternally grateful. As for my girlfriend's family situation, it was infinitely worse. Her parents were openly abusive, controlling, manipulative and extremely traditional, which could have had much more serious consequences if they found out she was pregnant. She didn't hesitate to cut ties with them. She packed a small bag, left them an explanatory letter, turned off her phone and never looked back. We started from scratch, just the two of us, discovering everything as we went along. It wasn't easy. Money was scarce, and she had to temporarily interrupt her university studies due to the pregnancy and the escape. She wanted to contribute to the expenses, so she started looking for a part-time job while I worked overtime. Despite all the difficulties, we were happy. At least until my family decided they weren't finished with me. I thought they had forgotten about me. But one day, while I was at work, my girlfriend called me in tears. My parents had turned up at our apartment, banging on the door and shouting at her. They insulted her, calling her self-serving and manipulative, and even accused her of intentionally trapping me. They demanded that she do the right thing and leave me. I was completely furious. I called my father, warning him that if he or any member of the family approached her again, I would contact the police. He dismissed me as if I were a child throwing a tantrum and made it clear that when my girlfriend inevitably left me, I should not try to get back with them. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. As they couldn't visit us at home, thanks to Yate who warned that any further disturbance would result in a police report, they began to harass her in public places. Initially, my girlfriend thought she was being paranoid, but then she began to notice that she saw them more often. Every time I went out to buy groceries or just to walk, one of them would appear. They shouted insults at her, called her despicable, accused her of ruining my life and made it clear that they would not allow her to keep me forever. One night she finally broke down, confessing that she was afraid to go out alone. I had never felt so powerless. I went straight to the police to try to get a restraining order, but apparently, as there had been no physical violence or direct threats, there was not enough justification. I was furious. What were we supposed to do? Wait for something worse to happen? I tried to stay at home as much as possible, but between work and university I couldn't always be there. Meanwhile, my brother seemed to enjoy every second of this situation. He was always the first to intervene when my parents started to harass her. He was always the one who spoke the loudest, hurling the worst insults. I knew that he had always looked down on me. He had bullied me since we were children, but this showed a different level of evil. I wanted to destroy him. Every part of me screamed for me to go to his house and beat him up, but I knew that doing so would ruin both my life and that of my girlfriend. Even so, I don't know how much longer I can bear this situation. I don't even understand why they continue with this behavior. I already did what they wanted. I walked away. I cut ties with them. I didn't ask them for anything, so why do they insist on ruining my life? Why does my brother keep acting like he needs to punish me for something that doesn't even affect him? I'm furious. I'm exhausted, and I just want them to stop. So, Reddit, how do I get them to stop this bullying once and for all? It's already clear that the police won't do much to stop it, but what other options do I have? Comments. Comment 1, okay. Your parents are acting terribly in this situation, no doubt about it. But let's take a moment to reflect. Are you completely sure they're doing it out of pure malice? You are 19 years old, and from their perspective, you are making a huge life-changing decision with very little preparation. Parents, even toxic ones, sometimes react harshly when they see their children making decisions they consider irreparable. What if this is their distorted way of trying to scare you into reconsidering, and they really believe they are acting for your own good? Answer: if they really cared about my well-being, they wouldn't be publicly harassing my pregnant girlfriend. They wouldn't have instantly disinherited me. I understand that parents panic when their children make unexpected decisions, but there's a difference between showing concern and being cruel. If they genuinely wanted to help, they could have sat down with me, offered advice, or at least given me the opportunity to explain my plans. Instead, they immediately resorted to threats and insults, treating me like a family embarrassment. That's not love, it's control, and I refuse to let them dictate my life simply because they think they know what's best for me. Comment 2, I understand that you're supporting your girlfriend, but let's be honest, this whole situation looks like a disaster waiting to happen. You are 19 years old, you can barely cover your basic expenses, and you are about to raise a baby while working and studying. You are encouraging your girlfriend to work during her pregnancy instead of prioritizing her health. Both of you have sacrificed a stable future to stand up to your family. Do you really think this is the best environment for a child? Or are you rushing into this without considering all the implications? Response: I'm not forcing my girlfriend to work. She wants to. She wants to contribute and hates the idea of me shouldering all the financial responsibility. This is a partnership, not a burden. And no, we haven't given up on a stable future. We are building it. She will return to university after the birth, and I am getting a technical qualification to increase my income. Many assume that because we are young we are destined to fail, but countless people have started from scratch and built extraordinary lives. The difference is our willingness to work hard. I'd rather struggle now than regret not trying later. Update 1. I hadn't planned to post an update. Honestly, I lack the energy to do so. My life has recently taken a devastating turn, and I needed to focus on my girlfriend rather than participating here. But now that things have calmed down, at least as much as they can, I thought it appropriate to share an update, even if it's not the kind of information anyone would like to read. I looked through all the comments on my original post and I understand the concerns that were expressed. Some suggested that I was ruining my life, acting emotionally, that I would regret cutting ties with my parents. Others tried to explain that my parents might be acting out of fear, that I should show more understanding. I wish that were the case. I wish I could claim that they only wanted the best for me, but the reality is that they destroyed everything. And the most outrageous thing is that they continue to act as if they didn't mean to. This happened after my publication. A week later, my parents decided to escalate the situation. As harassing my girlfriend was ineffective, they did something worse: they contacted her parents. They knew that she had run away, they knew that she escaped because of them, and yet they decided to reveal everything about the pregnancy and our whereabouts. They gave them our address. I was at university when it happened. My girlfriend's parents arrived unannounced and forced their way into our apartment. My girlfriend was completely alone. I wasn't there to protect her. She later told me that they shouted at her, calling her an embarrassment, accusing her of humiliating them. They pushed her, cornered her, and demanded that she come with them. When she refused, the situation turned violent. They physically assaulted her. By the time a neighbor heard the commotion and called the authorities, it was too late. They had caused her so much damage that she ended up in the emergency room. She lost the baby and the doctors informed us that she would never be able to conceive again. That was the end of it. The end of our plans, our baby, our future. It all disappeared in a single act of cruelty. Her parents were arrested and their case is still going through the courts. I hope they receive the maximum possible punishment. I hope they never experience freedom again. But whatever happens to them, nothing will change what happened. I was completely devastated. I felt that my world and my existence had ended. But although I was suffering intensely, my girlfriend was in a much worse state. She didn't speak, she didn't cry. She simply switched off emotionally. I sat in that hospital room for days, watching the woman I loved transform into someone unrecognizable. And my parents? They had the audacity to feign surprise when I confronted them. They swore they had no idea that her parents would act violently. They kept apologizing, saying that they never wanted to hurt the baby, that they were just trying to make us see reason. They said they were really sorry. I didn't care about their apologies. In my fury, I destroyed their house, broke furniture, destroyed photographs, damaged everything I could reach. And when my brother decided to intervene by acting as if I were exaggerating, I hit him repeatedly. I didn't hold back. With every blow, every punch, I wished they felt even a fraction of the pain I was experiencing. I won't deny that at a certain moment I contemplated doing to them exactly what they did to my son. Fortunately, I restrained myself, otherwise I would be writing this from prison. Even so, I was arrested for the first time in my life. I regret one thing, but not hitting him. I would do it again without hesitation, but I regret leaving my girlfriend alone in that hospital. I should have stayed by her side. I should never have left her alone. Fortunately, my best friend and his brother showed up and proved to be true heroes. They got me out of jail without question. The first thing I did when I got out was to go straight to the hospital where my girlfriend was still lying in the same bed because for her there was no other alternative. I didn't update before because, honestly, what could I say? Nothing positive happened, nothing got better. Our lives didn't take a miraculous turn. I don't know how to proceed now. My girlfriend still doesn't communicate, neither with me nor with anyone else. She is completely emotionally isolated, and I understand that. I don't pretend to fully understand her situation because she was physically carrying the baby inside her. But I partially understand because I also lost a child, although for her it has been immensely more traumatic. I started to look for therapeutic assistance because I recognize that I'm sinking emotionally and I cannot allow myself to collapse when she needs me. My best friend, her brother and her parents have been looking after her during my working hours or university hours and I am deeply grateful for that. But nothing can repair what has happened. As for my parents, they now beg for forgiveness. Since the extended family discovered their actions, they have been completely socially isolated. Nobody wants anything to do with them. Now they are trying to reconcile, offering money, offering anything to get me to communicate with them. I'm not interested. I reject their money. I don't want their apologies. They could offer me unlimited amounts of money and they still wouldn't give my son back. They destroyed my life and now they're trying to minimize it as a simple mistake. I want nothing from them. Well, maybe I do, for them to disappear completely. Even if I don't have to see them or interact with them, knowing that they continue to exist without consequences constantly infuriates me. Her parents deserve the maximum punishment. They have earned every consequence they face and I hope they never leave prison. I sincerely hope they receive the same treatment inside as they inflicted on others. I wish I had a more positive update, but this is my current reality. Update 2. A considerable amount of time has passed since my last post. To be honest, I was hesitant about returning here, but I have observed the comments, the private messages and the people who genuinely cared enough to ask about my situation. So, first and foremost, I thank all those who offered advice, support or even just a kind word. It meant more than you will ever understand. When you feel like your existence is comparable to drowning in a thick substance, any small element that provides some relief makes a difference. Any kind expression, no matter how insignificant it may seem, requires no effort on the part of the giver but means everything to the receiver. That said, if you are hoping for a perfect ending, you won't find it here. Real life doesn't work like that. There are no perfectly concluded resolutions or ideal endings. But I can say that I am no longer simply surviving, and after all I have been through, that is enough. A year after my previous update, my girlfriend's parents finally received their sentence. Their trial lasted for months and the whole procedure was extremely painful. I did everything I could to get my own parents prosecuted too, because from my perspective they were equally responsible. They were the ones who revealed our address. They knew exactly what kind of people her parents were, they understood exactly the possible consequences. However, in the end, my parents had financial resources, legal representation and connections. They managed to evade responsibility, without facing legal consequences, despite all my efforts. But socially they lost everything. Our extended family completely isolated them after learning the truth, although legally they went unpunished. That fact continues to torment me, but I had to accept it. There were no alternatives. Not even a civil lawsuit would be effective against them. The connection between my parents and my in-laws is too tenuous to establish conclusive evidence. It is extremely difficult to prove that they provided the address, and even more difficult to prove that they did so with the intention of causing this outcome. Her parents did not suffer the same fate. They were convicted of breaking and entering, assault, unlawful confinement and involuntary manslaughter of an unborn child. The final sentence, 25 years for her father, with no possibility of parole for at least 18 years, 20 years for her mother, with eligibility for parole after 15 years. They showed absolutely no remorse, no regret. Even when the judge delivered his sentences, they remained impassive, with expressions that conveyed no emotion at all, as if they still believed they were doing the right thing. They never apologized, never acknowledged their actions. I should have felt relief, I should have felt something significant. But I felt nothing. No amount of prison time will bring back what we lost. Subsequently, my girlfriend's mental health deteriorated severely. There were days when she barely spoke a word, nights when I would wake up to find her curled up in the corner of our room, sobbing silently. It was as if part of her had died that day, and I didn't know if she would ever recover her former self. But gradually, extremely slowly, she began to recover. She returned to university. Initially only a few subjects, but eventually she found her way again. She explained to me that she needed to reclaim her life, to complete what she had started before it was taken from her, and she succeeded. She continues to study, and I have no doubt that she will achieve something extraordinary with her academic training. As for me, I left university, not because I gave up, but because I found a better alternative. Some distant relatives, living in another country who never fully understood the situation, finally got informed. And when they did, they were deeply indignant, not with me, but with my parents. They made contact, and unlike my parents, their apologies were sincerely meaningful. They helped me start my own venture. I won't pretend to present it as an extraordinary success story, but I am progressing satisfactorily. My girlfriend and I moved to another state, started over, and 6 months ago I officially launched my business in partnership with those relatives. We have survived everything, losing our son, losing our families, almost losing ourselves, and somehow, after all that adversity, we continue to move forward. We are now 21 years old, and we have determined that if we can overcome these circumstances, we can face any difficulty. The wedding is still in the planning stage. We haven't set a date yet, and honestly, we're in no hurry. It's not about an ostentatious ceremony or expensive jewelry. It's about us, about choosing each other over and over again. No matter how many times life tries to separate us, we don't often talk about having children. It's still an extremely sensitive issue. She still has emotional episodes from time to time, moments when the weight of everything suddenly becomes too much for her. I don't pressure her. When she's ready to talk, I listen carefully. But I recognize that it's a wound that will never completely heal, and I don't know if we'll ever be able to talk about it properly. For now, we concentrate exclusively on our relationship. My best friend and his brother remain present in my life. We don't communicate daily, but we keep in touch and we meet occasionally, either when I visit them or when they come to see us. They were the only people who remained unconditional when everything collapsed, and I will never forget that. As for my parents, they continue to plead for reconciliation. Since the extended family withdrew their support, they have tried to re-enter my life. They want reconciliation, they long to re-establish a relationship, they want to repair the damage, but they refuse to fully acknowledge their responsibility. They refuse to admit their active participation, and I am no longer interested. I don't need them, I don't want them around. They could offer me unlimited wealth and it wouldn't change what happened. Some wounds are irreparable. Her parents can serve their sentence forever, and I hope they never regain their freedom. I couldn't care less about their welfare. They fully deserve the consequences they have received. Update 3. I felt obliged to share another update in view of the requests I have received. Our situation continues to improve progressively, that much I can assure you. More than a year ago, when I last published, the circumstances were favorable, but during these recent months they have experienced even more significant progress. My wife, now legally, as we got married in an intimate ceremony with friends and some family members, is continuing her studies. She only needs to pass a few more subjects to obtain her degree. For our wedding, my friend and his brother topped the guest list, considering that they were instrumental during the difficult times. My venture continues to prosper and I am acquiring new knowledge every day. The experience is comparable to university education but with real-world applications. Additionally, having these family members as business partners has been extremely beneficial as they have considerable business experience, and I am constantly learning valuable lessons. We are considering expanding, albeit progressively, to maintain our competitive advantages. My wife and I have started to consider adoption, as we still want to become parents. Her emotional recovery has been remarkable and she has started to talk to me about what happened. These years of psychological therapy are producing positive results, because she is gradually recovering the characteristics of the woman I initially knew. After all our shared experiences, I believe that our love has deepened considerably. As for my parents, the consequences of their actions have finally caught up with them in various ways. I have never hidden my story when asked, and I have always clearly stated the responsibility of my parents and my brother in these events. I wouldn't describe it as poetic justice, but it has definitely affected various aspects of their lives, both professionally and personally. I know that my brother has experienced difficulties in his romantic relationships, as few people want to form bonds with someone of his character. Meanwhile, my parents have faced certain work complications. Not to the extent of losing jobs, but in terms of missed opportunities. It is as if their actions cast a permanent shadow that prevents them from developing normally. Initially, when I wished for them to disappear, I had not considered this possibility, that their entire existence would be permanently overshadowed by their own actions. Not even their close relatives want to keep in touch with them, and they have indeed lost numerous friendships over the years. It is not a devastating blow of justice, but a constant and progressive erosion. My in-laws continue to serve their sentences without modification. The only relevant development is that the mother was attacked by other inmates, although I don't know if it is related to our story. We were simply notified that a relative of hers required medical attention, and my wife requested that they not contact her again under any circumstances, not even in the event of her death. In general, I believe that our lives have substantially improved. We will have to live with these traumatic experiences permanently, but we refuse to allow them to define our entire existence. That will be reserved for your parents and mine, but not for us.